Welcome to another episode of Inside Franklin Marshall Wrestling. I'm Brad Weltmer here for GoDiplomats.com, sitting down with Franklin Marshall head wrestling coach Mike Rogers, and then we have special guest 174-pounder Josh Young here with us today. So, guys, really appreciate you taking time out to sit down here with us.
Yep.
So, Mike, let's look at last Saturday. Your team traveled to Princeton. It was your fourth straight EIWA opponent. Another good opportunity to put your guys in front of some wrestlers that they're likely to see at the conference championships. It was closer than the final score indicated. You know, 3 of those losses came by decision. 2 of you guys picked up decision wins. Scott Stevens won 8-2 at 133. Rick Durso, he continued an 8-bout winning streak, faced another really tough conference opponent, came away with a 2-0 decision, really puts him in the driver's seat, it looks like, heading into the tournament. So just kind of recap that match, what stood out for you.
Yeah, Rick's been wrestling, good in the last part of the season. That's what we're looking for. And I think what he's doing better that he hasn't done in the early part of the season is riding guys. And that's, Rick's a really good mat wrestler on top and bottom. So the last 2 matches against the Princeton and Harvard kid, both of them, he had to get off the bottom and not only get the riding time, he rolled them out. So it's good to see him, putting that extra time on getting guys, putting it on them on top, And, and Rick's tough to take down. So he's looking good. I'd like to see him open up a little bit more on his offense on his feet. That's one area that I think we can, with Rick, we can continue to improve on. But, he's wrestling very smart, very calculated matches. The Laster kid is really tough, really athletic kid. So it was a good bout, but I think Rick was pretty much in control pretty much the whole time. And looked solid, didn't make too many mistakes. Like I said, the only thing we like to see with Rick is maybe open up a little bit more on his feet and get guys to kind of wrestle him a little bit more. But it's tough because guys have him scouted. They know where he's good. They're going to try to stay away from any scramble situations, so they try to wrestle a very controlled match. But a kid like Rick, it's hard to, if he's not going to take you down, he's going to ride you out. He's going to get off the bottom. He's going to reverse you. He's going to find a way to win. So. He's looking good, so we're excited about him. And then Scott looked really good. He was trying to get some bonus points for us towards the end, cutting a kid and trying to take him down. But Scott's been looking really solid towards the end too. And everyone else looked tough. Pelusi had a nice nice match at heavyweight. Get up a last minute takedown. With like 30 seconds to go in the second period to tie it up, and got rode out the second period to give up the match on riding time. But that was a good match for him. He went up early, and now for him, he has to learn how to win those matches that he's ahead. He got up early 4-1, and I think he kind of backed off a little bit and tried to sit on that lead a little bit too much. And at this level, 2-3 points is not a big lead, and he's going to have to wrestle those matches completely through. So every time he goes out, he's making a little bit more improvements and looking good. And Josh did a great job at 174 against a really tough ranked kid. I think he got the kid almost stalled out of the match. I mean, the score didn't look that, it was kind of a lopsided score, but in terms of Josh pushing him and almost one more stall point, the kid would have just got disqualified. So I think all our guys did a great job of pushing the pace and tempo. And like we said before, I think Princeton walked away, knew that they were in a fight with us. And that's what we hoped for. That's what we wanted, just to send a message that we're not going to back down or back off. We're going to keep coming at you regardless of the score, and that's what we look for, and that's what we're hoping to do the last part of the season.
Yeah, you're heading into the home stretch. Just about a month left till the IWA tournament. As a whole, what type of improvements do you guys need to make to be successful at that tournament?
This part of the season, I think what we're trying to do is just focus on just getting healthy. It's more about shortening the practices, that their mindset's right, trying to fix the little things that we can fix. There's no big changes we're going to be able to do. So any areas of improvement is really going to be just minor adjustments, little tweaks here and there. Any big changes that's going to happen, that has to happen in the off season over the summer. But really, right now, it's just making sure everyone's feeling healthy, shortening the practice times, getting in, getting out, and just kind of cycling down going into the last part of the season.
And then we've got Josh here with us. Really interesting story. You're also a wide receiver on the football team. You walked onto the wrestling team at the beginning of the year and worked your way into the lineup at 174. You wrestled throughout your high school career, but talk about how difficult it was to make that readjustment back into wrestling, especially at a Division I level.
Yeah, definitely. I part of the reason I came here is because there was a Division I wrestling team and hoping that I would eventually come and walk on. But the adjustment definitely wasn't as easy as I thought it might be. The conditioning is like way up here, and the kids that you wrestle, you can't just win off athleticism the way I did mostly in high school. I wrestled from December to March, not really focusing on technique, and I'm really excited to be able to have Coach Rogers and Coach Allen, Coach Childs in there, Coach Borgia, like teaching me things, getting that third tier technique. So like I'm really excited to be able to work towards developing into a wrestler.
So you're a junior. What made this year the year that you decided to come out for the wrestling team?
Mostly homesickness, adjusting from being away from my family. I've always had them, my mom and my brothers. So, and then Jake going off to college and deciding to wrestle in college at Columbia was a big enticement for me. Actually, he was going to be 174, which was part of the reason I lost the weight to be 174 in the hopes that I could wrestle him in a match. He ended up breaking his ankle, but that would have been a lot of fun for us. So I guess it just worked out well in my academics too. I'm getting in the groove of I could add another sport and still perform well academically. I wasn't too nervous about falling off. So I'm just blessed to be able to have the opportunity that I have.
And then, you mentioned your brother Jake. He wrestles at Columbia. He's also on the football team.
Yeah.
So you guys are about 2 years apart, but how competitive were you growing up and competing against each other?
Definitely. Actually, a funny story. I used to, being the older brother, change the rules mid competition sometimes if I thought he might have a chance to beat me. And then also he learned how to entice me into continuing to play so that he could come out on top eventually, knowing that if he would challenge me for increasing the amount of time, I wouldn't back down. So it's a cool little dynamic that we have, always competing ever since we were little. And now Joe, my youngest brother, a junior, looking at schools like Penn and Columbia to play football at. He's a quarterback. Also got a lot of the height, 6'4". My mom says that Jake left some of his height in there for Joe, but now he can compete with us too, which is a lot of fun. He's big now, and that's awesome too.
Talk about how your athleticism has helped you in wrestling. How, in general, of being a football player has helped you as a wrestler, and then vice versa, how's being a wrestler helping you as a football player?
Yeah. Really, I think wrestling helps me a lot more as a football player than football helps me as a wrestler. But football does help in wrestling about kind of the feeling of being part of a team and working for someone other than yourself. Wrestling, it can feel like you're the only one that matters and we have a great team on the wrestling squad and great coaches, and Patty Quinlan, he's one of my roommates, and it's underestimated how much that excitement actually helps. Every time someone goes out to wrestle, Patty's excited for them to be a part of the team, and I feel like football helps me do that with having a level of excitement even if I'm not wrestling. And then Anthony Mancini is always willing to go in for an extra practice if I feel like I need to work on something. And we have a really good team, and I think football helps me be a better teammate. And wrestling is going to help me with football. Just you have to be a different type of animal to be a wrestler, and definitely conditioning mentally. I think I'll have more confidence. I'll be quicker and be able to go. So I think agility, focus, I think that'll all help from wrestling going into football.
Yeah, and you not only play 2 sports, you also have 2 majors. So your philosophy and business organizations and society. major, and you still have a year left ahead of you. But have you thought about plans after graduation?
Yeah, I have. I've been working really hard in school so that I have a lot of choices coming out of it. I got a few internships this summer, offers in New York City that I ended up turning down so I could take one in Harrisburg so I can be on campus during the summertime and improve as a wrestler. I'm really excited to be able to do that with the coaches and come in every day. So, but yeah, I'm kind of testing the waters in the finance world, seeing if that's something I could do for at least part of my life. I'm going to be working at the PFM group. It's a public finance management group this summer. So yeah, just kind of working hard, seeing where it takes me.
Mike, let's look ahead a little bit to this weekend. Saturday, your team travels to Drexel. It's another EIWA opponent, like we talked about earlier, another chance to put your guys in front of wrestlers that are likely going to face in the tournament. Are you kind of approaching it the same way you have been in the last couple matches?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're keeping the same philosophy the whole season. Just go out there and put up a fight and see how things end up. And we don't want to, we didn't lose. We just run out of time. And that's what we want to, the philosophy we want to take out there is that we just keep fighting the whole time, from the first little whistle to the last one. Matches wise, I think we always wrestle Drexel well. It usually comes down to, a lot of matches come down to a couple points. We've been on the losing end of a lot of individual bouts, by 1-2 point matches, and we're still trying to flip that script a little bit where we can win those close ones. So we're excited about it. We're not putting any more emphasis or pressure on it than we would anything else. It's just another opponent that we got to go through, and it's another conference opponent that we're going to see towards the end. So again, like I said this before, we want to put as many conference teams on our schedule so we can see them. So we see them again, we know what we're getting into and make the adjustments and improvements. And that's all we can ask for. So if we do what we did against Princeton and we keep building that into it, and every time we go out, I think we're doing a little bit better. The question is, how much better are we going to get by the time the end, and if that's going to make a big enough difference. No one knows that until we get to the end of it. So, but guys like Josh and the rest of the team, they have a great attitude, great support system. If they're not in, they're backing the other guy up, and it's not all about, if I can't be the guy, then I'm taking my toys and going home. They're supporting each other, and I think that's really important. Wrestling's a tough sport. Only one guy can go. It's not like we can call, timeout and pull one guy and put the other guy in. It's tough. So, but having that team dynamic, those guys, the 10 guys that go out there are supported by the other 10, 15 guys behind them. And also if someone else gets in the lineup, that guy's supporting that guy. So I can't ask for a better group of guys that I have, and bringing guys on like Josh and 2 majors, 2 sports. It's just exciting to be around people like that and seeing what they're going to do in the future. But yeah, and that we're just hoping just to keep building on what we're doing.
Guys, thanks a lot for the insight. Good luck this weekend against Drexel.
Thanks.
And thank you for tuning in. Be sure to join us next week when we recap that Drexel match and look ahead to George Mason.